Hi guys, so here we are again. We're out foraging on our way home and we've stopped this time underneath this tree, and you can probably tell me what it is. That's right, it's a cherry tree, and look, this is what we're here for. So I'm obviously in a rural environment here, but you'll find cherry trees everywhere. They are grown in towns, villages and cities as ornamental trees. They're beautiful trees and they're really, really easy to spot because, well, at this time of year, of course, you've got all the cherries, like so, which we're going to be harvesting shortly. But even throughout the rest of the year, they're a fairly easy plant to identify. The leaves grow alternately. So if you look here, I'll try and show you as best I can. They sort of take it in turns which side of the stem they come off of. One on the left, then one on the right, one on the left, one on the right. And they all have this toothing down the edge. I mean, it's a fairly typical leaf shape. And the bark, which we can't see on this tree very clearly because it's covered in ivy, is usually quite smooth, and it'll quite often have horizontal lines on it. But what a beautiful specimen. And just look at all those cherries. So if you find a cherry tree in the wild, it could be really sour, it could be really sweet. Often they're just as sweet or almost as sweet as the cultivated ones, but they won't be quite as big, you might find. So this is a fairly typical size that you might find when you're out foraging. But you still have the stone inside, which is one of the things we have to contend with. But when you find them, this tree, I think, to be fair, is a little bit unusual insofar as it's got so many cherries. Not so many cherries, but so many ripe cherries that the birds haven't got to yet, because sometimes you've got to be quite quick to get there before the birds, particularly sparrows seem to like them. But we're going to harvest a load of these now, and then when we get home, we'll be cooking with them and preserving them. And it can be a really productive and rewarding tree to forage from, because in just a few minutes we've collected quite a haul of cherries. So if you're collecting them, this is how they start life, and then they gradually mature. And I just wanted to show you that there looks, to some eyes, like the perfect cherry, but it's still a bit underripe. You actually want them when they're more that colour, almost black. And you'll notice this one still has the stem attached, and when you pull a ripe one, 9 times out of 10 it'll come away from the stem, and that's how you know you're ripe. So what we'll do now with these is we'll take these home, we'll de-pit them, so we'll preserve them in sugar water in a water bath. We'll also preserve them just by freezing them. All of these methods we would pit them first, and my wife will actually cook with some of them fresh as well. Right, so my wife has done the amazing job of pitting all the cherries, because she's just this amazing superstar that does everything that has no glory in it whatsoever, don't you, my love? And she's left me to do the fun bit. I mean, wow, what a wife. So here's the cherries. Now, half of them have already gone in the freezer, where we just freeze them on a tray like that, so that they're all frozen separately. And then my wife will use them in the next few weeks to make flapjacks. And then the other half we're going to can. We're going to preserve in, not can, we're going to preserve in syrup. And there's 2 ways of doing it. We can do everything we're going to do, and then you can water bath them. Now, I haven't got a water bath, or I do, but I don't have it here. It's in the container. We haven't got everything out the container yet since we moved house, so I'm not going to be able to do that. So we're just going to preserve them in syrup, and they will keep at room temperature for 3 or 4 months, just like that. And obviously they'll keep a lot longer if we were able to water bath can them after. But like I say, we're not able to do that step today. But this step is so simple. Right, so I've just boiled the kettle. This is a much more efficient and cheaper way of boiling water than doing it in the on the stove. And then what we're going to do is we're basically going to just make a sugar solution. And it wants to be 1 part sugar for 4 parts water by volume. So if we go 600 ml with the water, and then we'll add sugar to bring that up to 750 ml. So we're adding another 150 ml of sugar. And we'll give that a stir and then get it in the pan. Now obviously that sugar will have reduced the temperature, so now we'll get it back, turn the heat up underneath that and get it back up to boiling. Now, as well as not having my water bath canner, I also don't have any of my tools, my big tongs and things, so we're just gonna have to use a tea towel because I've got the jar that it's going in the oven where it's been sterilising. So that's been in the oven on 130 degrees for about 10 minutes. And then over here I've got my brand new washed in soapy water ring. Now we just need to decant our cherries. And then pour over our syrup. Just agitating it to make sure all the air bubbles come out. And that's it. And there, added to our shelf, is our preserved cherries. Like I say, they'll be quite happy there for 3 months or more. And they won't last that long, obviously, but it's a great way of preserving them without taking up freezer space, which is something we're all keen to do, isn't it? Reduce our freezer necessity for some of the things that we're saving, because we never know when we need that space for something else. So there you go. That's my harvesting and preserving wild cherries. Hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please make sure you press that like button, leave me a comment down below, and if you're not already, subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll speak to you on the next one. Cheers.